Welcome to our storyboard by Andrew Randal, Michael Murphy, Seyedeh Sara, Masiuk, Sumayya, Yaseen, and Yasmeen, Syed.
In self-directed learning. It drives a learner to seek new knowledge and information. As an open educational resource, our learners will arrive at our learning object through self-direction with intention. Once they arrive at our learning object, they begin to enter what is identified by educational theorist David Kolb as the experiential learning cycle. According to Kolb, 1984, new knowledge acquisition results from the interaction between theory and experience. This direct experiential encounter with a learning event requires active engagement of the learner as opposed to passive engagement commonly associated with teacher-directed instruction. In Kolb's experiential learning cycle illustrated in this frame, learning takes place in 4 stages. Kolb views learning as an integrated process with each stage being mutually supportive of and feeding into the next. They are not necessarily concrete stages, rather continuums. Therefore, it is possible to enter the cycle at any point and follow it through a logical sequence. In this frame, our learner is having a concrete experience by becoming a user of the open educational resource on opioids, where they can learn and acquire new knowledge. As the learner moves on to the cognitive phase, the experiential learning cycle continues. The experiential learning cycle is one of which includes reflection of learning, drawing conclusions from those reflections, and applying those conclusions to future learning opportunities. This framework can assist educators in the interpretation of a learning process, and the experiential learning cycle conceptualizes the learning process and guides our learners through our learning object.
As the learner proceeds through the learning object, he or she enters into the cognitive learning space. Our learning object will, among others, utilize the cognitive theory of multimedia learning in an attempt to reduce the required cognitive load in order for the learner to maximize his or her learning capability. The learner will read through important information on opioid addiction and use various multimedia images, videos, and embedded links to solidify his or her understanding. Our learning object is an open education resource designed to be used for a variety of subjects in a self-directed environment. As such, successful learning of this content will depend on the learner's cognitive engagement. In order to help confirm the learner's understanding, formative assessment will be utilized throughout.
The theoretical framework on social constructivist theory is exemplified by the learner identifying learning through social interaction with whom they are involved with on a daily basis. This would include their peers, parents, teachers, and the community. As such, the learner would be having a conversation with a peer or group of individuals regarding the use of opioids. Additionally, this type of learning development stems from social behaviors during their childhood. Through the learning object, based on the social constructive theoretical framework, the learner has developed a positive response from the learning object and plans to make positive decisions to stop opioid use. As such, they've taken their own personal experience and constructively engaged in viable solutions to arrest the use of opioids learned from the learning object. Social constructivism is demonstrated by way where the learner interacts amongst a group of peers in discussing opioid use. As such, the use of a learning object in the form of digital technology, such as Slack and Facebook integration, are utilized. Additionally, constructivism reinforces the learner's capability of understanding the difference between personal knowledge to new knowledge. In exemplifying the social constructivist theory, the learner identifies that their peer is experiencing peer pressure within their group and motivates them to boost their self-esteem by resisting opioid use through several measures of prevention noted within the learning object. As such, the learner takes responsibility to be a good friend and develop a positive social environment to take self-direction and make decisions not to use opioids.
The 7 principles of universal instructional design engage the concept of equity and inclusiveness as it relates to instructional matters and activities. Open Learning, Educational Support, University of Guelph, 2016. Our learning object is being designed using UID. The delivery methods include watching, listening, and reading, as well as links to information and interactive resources. The learning object is digital, making it accessible to individuals with a wide range of physical abilities. The resources will be electronic and print format, and the video will be captioned to account for various learning methods. Level of learning object. Using Bloom's taxonomy as a measure of the cognitive processes the learner progresses through, we begin with knowledge. The learner acquires knowledge through facts and information which is presented about opioids and its uses. Once the learner has acquired the knowledge and understood the material, they will then move to the application and finally the analysis of the problem. Measurable learning objectives. This learning object was designed with both the learner and the end result in mind. Smith, 2012. A set of 5 statements which are effective learning objectives has been written using action verbs. These action verbs describe what the learner will know and what they will be able to do at the end of the course. Upon successful completion of this learning object, the learner will be able to, number 1, compare illegal opioids to legal opioids. Number 2, describe the dangers of opioid use. Number 3, analyze fentanyl and its effects. Number 4, identify signs of heavy opioid use and overdoses. And finally, number 5, locate resources for substance abuse.
Thank you for watching.